obviously the last one, okay, and obviously the last one, so we've got academics, we've got location, soccer program. The last one is, of course, the finances, right? Making sure that, it is the right school for you and your family, right? So if it's an in-state school, Bright Futures, obviously some Georgia schools honor bright futures as well. So those are some of the things to keep in mind, right? Or what is the financial implications of going to a school that you really want to go to, and is it affordable for you and your family, and how does that play in terms of having some of that grant money go towards your tuition? All right, so those are kind of the outlines in terms of how you go about kind of selecting a school, right? The next one obviously is contacting the schools, and so and I hope, and I should have alluded to this as well, we'll send some things out, but it's important that you kind of make your own notes as we go along. What we've said is essentially cast, because of the recent developments with the COVID implications, is what we're saying is cast a really big net. And what we mean by that is essentially, are you targeting schools? It's a massive, massive country, right? And are you targeting schools from Miami all the way to the Pacific Northwest, to California, to the coast of Rhode Island, Maine? Are you targeting these schools? Are you looking at these schools? Because if you narrow down that location, and listen, it's okay to say that I want to stay close to home. It's okay to say that I want to be driving within distances of my family, being able to drive on a weekend to come watch me play. There's nothing wrong with that. So we want to make that clear. What we're saying is, though, sometimes we don't cast a wide net based on the things that we spoke about in choosing the school, then you're probably limiting those options. Okay, and I think it's very important, because one of the things I've found in my travels, whether I've lived in California or lived obviously now in Florida, California kids don't want to go past the Mississippi. They won't want to stay in the mountains of that side. Obviously, Southeast, especially this part of the world, why wouldn't you want to go to school in shorts every single day? I get it, but the reality is there's a lot of schools out there that kind of fit your criteria and probably fit your profile that you might be excluding if you don't consider some of these schools. And that's all we're saying, is consider some of those schools. So the idea is, we sit down, make a list. You have a top 5 list. These are my first, top 5 list of schools that I really want to attend. Great. These are the ones I really like. They tick all the boxes we talked about. Then there's a second list, kind of like, 6 to 11, those sort of schools that you want to look at. And then there's obviously the last list, and I'd say, kind of break it up into 4 groups of 5, but at least 15 for sure. Your top 5, middle 5, and 5 that, okay, I would consider these schools, right? So I think, putting those lists of schools out there, and kind of prioritizing that when you sit down with your coach, or you send it out with the directors, that these are the ones that these are the ones I really want to target. And what we can do then is the coaches, directors can sit down and look and say, well, look, hey, this is Virginia Tech. You played midfield, but we've gone through. We realized that they have 5 freshmen. I'm going to be I want to go there next year, Virginia Tech. But they've just recruited on the roster 5 freshman players. So chances are they might not be looking. Not to say they don't, but chances are they might not be looking for another midfield player, considering this class they've just brought in for the 2021 class. They just brought in 5 midfield players, right? So that probably more than likely, a coach is going to say, hey, look, I really like you, but the reality is maybe, could you play somewhere else? That's great. So we're not saying don't exclude it, just making sure you're being very thorough in this process, okay? When you're looking at those schools. So, your top 5, your second 5, your third 5, and maybe there's a not bottom 5, but the last 5 schools, or maybe you're not necessarily as interested in as the top 10. But this way also the coaches, that you sit down and speak with can realistically say, hey, look, I don't know if that's your level. I have to be honest with you because I don't want you to continue to go down this avenue. However, I do think this school is a lot better fit for you based on your qualities, based on all the different things that you add. And then we can better streamline you into making those decisions. So you're not, not to say wasting time, but you're not putting a whole lot of time and energy into a school that possibly is not a good fit for you, right? And also based on the other things as well that we just discussed in terms of allowing you to come in because they simply have too many players in your position. All right. So any questions for that real quick? Obviously we can go back, but we're kind of going through this so we can allow you to kind of have some questions towards the end. So couple of things that I found, right? So former college coach, obviously my wife's a college coach currently at a Power 5 school. And some of the things that is really important that we've found throughout the course of the years is something in your email kind of jump off the page? What separates you from this generic email? And what I've always found is something a little bit more personal, right? So, dear Coach Smith, congrats on the game on Thursday. I thought the team played very well. Obviously, if they don't win, you don't include that, but something where you can say, hey, congrats on the win the last game. I watched the game on ESPN Plus. The game did very well. Perfect. So now the coach is like, okay, he's a little more engaged. The second is you start speaking about, hey, I want to, I've looked into your business program. It's a great program. I think, it's a program of which, or pre-med or physical therapy. So speak a little bit about the program you'd be interested in. Speak about your GPA. This is my grade point average. This is why I currently have, 3.9 or 3.5, 3.2. This is what it is. And then again, the last part, I think it's a beautiful campus. I'd love to come take a look, opportunity. And the exit is, here's my videotape. Here's my highlight reel. Please let me know if there's any interest. I'd love to be able to set up a call with you at your earliest convenience. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. So a couple of things in there. So after you send this email indicating to the coach that essentially like, great win, great program. I want to study this in your program. Obviously this is my GPA. Love to be able to, this is my highlight film. This is what I'd love to be able to come take a visit or have a conversation at your earliest convenience. You send that out. When do you follow up? Okay, when do you follow up? When's an appropriate time to follow up? I think it's a good time at the next email, right? And I would say probably you could either, call all of them, have a office line where you can leave a message, and say, hey, this is obviously John calling. I'd love to follow up. I sent you an email. Great. 2 weeks after you send an email, right, you have to be able to follow up and say, hey, I'm just looking to check in. Coach, again, congratulations on a win. Obviously, if you lose, you don't want to put that in there, but congratulations on the win, or I was able to watch the game again last week. So again, it's showing that you're truly interested in the program and you're engaged in their program. Okay, I can't stress that enough because obviously they get 100 possible emails a day, and what is separating you from yourself? What is separating from you from anybody else is that you've taken interest, you are following, you're engaged. I want to come here, right? I want to come here. And obviously it has to match in terms of what they're looking for. We get it. But right there and then you're saying that, hey, I'm bought in. I've got a vested interest in your program. And here I am sending you an email, following up with you. I'm really interested, right? And by that point in time, more than likely, you'll get a response, or you should get a response either one way or the other. Hey, it's great. I'd love to be able to sit on the call. I'd love to be able to speak to you about it some more. Or you'll get basically saying, hey, it's great. I really appreciate you emailing us. However, we are all set for this class. No problem. You kind of move on from there. All right. When you're doing that, and in all the emails, it's important that you include your head coach, important that you include Tommy, and obviously Coach Joy Barrett. Copy them on it, and you can blind copy me if you want. But I think having your current coach, obviously the boys director, the boys college advisory from that side, having as many people on there so we can follow up and support that process is really important as well, right? Because when we see that, we can say, hey, there might be a really good connection. Obviously, as coaching staff, we have a lot of contacts within the game, and even if we do have a lot of contacts with college coaches, it really is about them wanting you and them making sure it's a good fit. But at those points, we can always follow up as well. If we know that the email has been sent. All right. So those things are important. If you get to the point where, you connected with the coach, liked your video, says, hey, I'd love to be, and we'll have probably a second there about this one. But if you get to the point where they said, hey, we'd love to come for a visit, then obviously you have to look on your schedule, touch base with your coach and say, hey, we have a game this week, or they've asked me to come in on this particular game. It's an on-campus visit. Is it an official visit or unofficial visit? So if it's an unofficial visit, you can go at any time that you want. You'd obviously have to speak to your coach and what that looks like. An unofficial visit means basically come on campus, take a tour. They can probably help you through some navigating through seeing academic counselors. Sometimes you can set up on an unofficial. An official visit usually means that they fly you in. Now, if they fly you in, your parent or your guardian has to pay their own way. They can't fly you and your parent or your guardian in. So they can fly you in. They'll put you up more than likely. And they used to, obviously it's changed. They probably put you in a hotel with a family, and they'll pay for it. They used to put you with players, right? They used to have you stay with some of the players, some of the not quite upperclassmen, but if, for example, if you're a freshman, they're going to put you with a junior, or sorry, if you're your high school senior, they'll probably put you with sophomores and juniors. So because those would be the people that you are going to interact and still be on the team when you come in. So they'll kind of pair you with a sophomore or a junior. They'll kind of walk you through the process. You get access, obviously, as a senior, you get access to the games. You get access. You can't sit in on necessarily a team meeting per se, but you can get access to all the other things going to a game. Taking a look at the change room, seeing some of the stuff other than the tactical stuff, more than they keep you out of. But other than that, they can kind of get you involved in everything and walk you through what a game day would feel like if you were a student athlete. Okay. And if you do go on an official visit, then they will definitely set you up to see probably an academic counselor to talk to you about the different courses that you want to take, and kind of walk you through that. And those usually take place over the course of a weekend, right? So obviously that's why I said you have to speak to your current club coach, and obviously see if that makes sense, because obviously we want you to take those visits. We just obviously can't have 6 players going on an official visit one weekend. So we just have to balance that out to make sure that if you do happen to go take an official visit and they're flying you in, that we just have a balanced squad. So we're not forfeiting games, right? But those are just logistical things from us as a club that we need to work. But you have to have that communication with your club coach. And the reason why we ask you to communicate that way with us, so we can help manage not just you, but obviously the team and the program as well. All right. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's basically what happens when you go on a official or unofficial visit, right? So and I there's a school that you think there's a little bit of interest in, and you can go on an unofficial visit rather than waiting. I would strongly advise that you do that. Okay, so that's basically the kind of the overview of what we're suggesting, or in terms of how you go about this process. We talked about making sure you include your coach's emails or you copy your coaches or include their coaches' emails on it. I think it's very, very important to include your coach, because obviously it gives us an opportunity and the directors to follow up and to see where we're at, and to make sure, hey, I just saw your email. Feel free by all means, to like craft up an email and say, hey, coach, what do you think? Do you think this is the right verbiage, tense? Have another set of eyes. Obviously your parents and guardians can look at it if you want, but even that, there's nothing wrong. It doesn't hurt by having a coach take a look at it and say, hey, like, I think that's a well-crafted email. By all means, send it out. Because what you don't want to do, we talked about making first impressions. What you don't want to do is maybe the email comes across a little pushy or not really as interested. We want to make sure that we get it right the first time. When that goes out, it's a well-crafted email. And I believe already on the website gives you a really good example of what a positive email looks like. My suggestions are one or two things that, again, draws in the coach a little bit more than usual by really speaking about their program and the reason why you want to be there, and obviously the great academic school that or the academic studies that you would want to attend or take while attending that school. All right. So again, just kind of brief recap in terms of selecting your school. I would say academics, location, soccer program, finances, making sure you have at least a list of 20 schools that you kind of top 5, second, top 5, third, and obviously you're kind of last. And again, just based on your preferences, nothing wrong with that as well. Continue to cast a wide net across the country, because you'd be very surprised at some of the schools that you get interest from. And again, just making sure that you're covering all your bases. All right. When that happens, you're going to have that 2-week follow-up with them. Nothing wrong with leaving a voicemail followed up by an email after 2 weeks, and making sure that you copy your coaches and the directors on it. All right. So everyone keeps abreast of what's actually happening with you and monitoring your progress and your correspondence with these coaches. Okay, so I think that's more or less it. We'll kind of open it up now so we get a little more engagement rather than me speaking through it. Any questions that may have? I think I see one here. So the question is, how should you title a subject line to make it eye-catching? Yeah, look, I can't really say. Obviously, you're probably maybe your name, the program, your class. I really think it's not so much the title, but really is what's in the message that really catches, because they're going to glance, they're going to see it, they're going to glance over it, and you don't want it to be, dare I say, a little bit too corny, because then obviously that could be taken the wrong way, and coaches don't want that as well, right? Because you still want it to be very professional, so you don't want to put anything. The next Lionel Messi, JFC 2021. You don't want that. You just want to make, just kind of talk about your name, obviously, and really make sure that what you're saying in the base of the email, or so in the body of the email, is really what's important. All right. Anything else? Nothing? That awkward moment? Yes, Bruno. How
Can
you
I
doing?
ask you a question? Good. How are you doing?
Yes. Good. Excellent.
My question was going to be too long typing. So, quick question for you from a strategy standpoint when we talk about the financial point of view of college. Derek talked about Florida Prepaid the other day, and he says we should, as players or parents, bring forward the concept of Florida Prepaid because that helps in terms of the equation from a financial standpoint.
Right.
Isn't that counterproductive in terms of, as a parent, I'd rather have them give me as much as I want, as much as they can, so I can retain my Florida Prepaid and potentially use it for something else. Viewpoint,
Yeah,
you view.
yeah. No, it's a brilliant point, Bruno. You're right. I mean, it's part of that negotiations, right? I think they're going to say that because obviously it helps them. Remember, they're in the business. They want 25 really good players for 9.9 scholarships, right? So you're right. And that's why I don't necessarily think that's the first thing you put out there. That's one of the things he wanted. It's not necessarily one of the things I would necessarily put in there. But I do think there's some part of it in terms of what he's trying to say is that, hey, if this is really like, if you talk about it's your top 5 school, right? Like, this is a school I definitely want to go to, and you feel that that's something that might help, then you can put it in there. I think it's going to come down to everyone's family's preference, and I see both sides. And I'm not really usually a fence sitter, but I would say there's both sides to it, because at the end of the day, I don't necessarily want to say like, hey, I want to retain some of it. But the reality is if that money's probably set aside for it anyways, along with a good academic, and that means that his package he puts towards you as a family only has you paying maybe $4,000 to go to school, then it's advantageous to you, right? So I do think it's about understanding the program, understanding what in terms of you as a family, in terms of your not your priority list of what that is. If it's not necessarily high on your priority list, then maybe it's something you kind of keep. But I think, that's a coach who's definitely, so if UNF is one of your schools, then I would say then he's made it very clear that that's something important to him, right? But I think originally when you're outlining it, I don't think it's necessarily something that you necessarily need to disclose right off the bat.
And agreed, understood. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Bruno. Great question. Anything else from the boys? Brandon, Chad, I'm just looking at you guys right now. Anything else from you guys? There's no wrong answers. There are no bad questions. It's just having dialogue to go through some of these things. So if there's anything from you all, then by all means. But obviously, I think Bruno's a really good question. How do you navigate through that? And that comes down to a personal family choice and decision. Like I said, Coach Derek, as his program has indicated, that's something and some important to him, but might not be for someone else, right? I would say though is making sure that for those who have the video component is very important. So I would definitely, because what you want to do when you send those things out is making sure that you definitely have, for the most point, that in there. And if you don't have one yet, then obviously you definitely have to include your coach in there as a reference, because they need to be able to talk about you as a player and about obviously your qualities and your character and what it's like. You heard the coaches speak about that the other night. Very, very important. So I would definitely highly recommend start looking to put together that little video clip that is 2 to 3 minutes most, and then include in that saying, hey, if you need any full games, I'll be happy to send them to you, because that's what they want. They want to see quality, something that piques their interest. And I like this player. Like, he shows me something. I like that. I'm looking for a left-sided player, a left-footed, really cultured, serves the ball really well, technically good in tight spaces. I like it. So I've seen that in the video. And then I want to see what that looks like over, and this is my opinion, the good coaches are going to say, I want to see 1 or 2 games. And they want to see 1 or 2 games because they want to see, hey, they know you're going to make mistakes. They know it's not going to be a great game. What they're looking for is to see how you react to a bad pass, how you react to giving up a goal or letting somebody or missing an open net. How do you respond in those moments? So the good coaches are going to say, hey, you've enticed me in with this video, but the good coaches are also going to ask for some more video. So be prepared to have those things. And those are some of the things, obviously, that we're working on as well. I know Tom can always allude to that, but the reality is that that's really important, because you have to have that to bring in these coaches as well. All right.
So, something to add, Hubie, is obviously a couple of things is when doing highlight tapes and videos, always feel free to use us coaches as a resource to help you navigate through that process as well. What goes on the highlight tape? What do coaches want to see, right? We get some really good ones. We get some ones we get some highlight videos that are not ready yet or not ready yet to be sent out. So you utilize us as a resource to help you navigate through that process as well. And then the second piece is Hubie is absolutely right, is once you've now sparked the interest of a college coach or a program and they request a full 90-minute video, depending on what program you're at, if you're in the MLS Next, they're already getting those videos, right? So they're getting weekly videos of the 17th and 19th to actually be able to see with the scouting schematic and so on and so forth. So how important the body language is second to none. Getting scored on, scoring a goal, or if someone scores a goal, you're the only one not celebrating, and so on. It's the little detail that very often when coaches narrow down their search for a player, is that's what comes to play, right? And so that when they do offer official visits, that's something they certainly take into considerations, because especially during COVID, it was an unusual time, and they're having to make decisions through that process as well. So every little bit helps.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Listen, I say this all the time, for everything, whether it be the club program, national team program. When you gentlemen get out of your car, right, and you're walking, and how you're being looked and being judged at, you're being evaluated. Everything is like a job interview. Your parents will tell you it's like a job interview. Everything that you do, how you you come in, you speak to the players, and obviously our culture is good that way. We always shake hands or give fist bumps, say hi to the coaches. So we have a very good culture that way. And when I was through my travels, that's something that the scope, the college scouts and coaches commend us for as a club, boys and girls, is that culture is very good, very respectful. But you're human beings, you're boys. It's testosterone in the game. How you interact with the referee, or your hands just sitting out in the air. I missed a bad ball. It's all little things. We want you to be yourself, but understand that there's some small little things as well that we really need to make sure that we know. I don't want to use this term because it's the wrong thing, but it's and I'll give up my age by saying Cole's notes. Maybe your parents will know more about those, or cheat sheets. And not, like I said, I don't want to talk about cheat sheets, but it's basically a card that says to you guys, hey, these are some of the cues that they're looking for. So if you know they're looking for them, making sure that you're definitely following up on those things, right? You know that this is what I'm being evaluated on. All right. I see a question here by Kim Romano. Says, will the club alert the player if a college has inquired about them? How does that process work? Another great question. Absolutely. We get those sometimes, and a lot of the times we get, hey, Coach Tommy, I just lost. I had one this week with the girls. I just lost my goalkeeper at Notre Dame. Like, she's done for the year, and I wasn't planning on recruiting, but now I have to bring one in. Like, we get those all the time, and we're just saying, hey, I'm looking for, and we'll probably get this a lot, probably around the December. I've got 4 players transferring out, or I'm letting 4 players leave. These are the conversations. I'm looking for this profile of a player. So we get those inquiries a lot based on the connections, and absolutely, if that comes thing about a direct player, who's your number 9? That's an easy one. I'm looking for a number 9 as a striker. That one's a little bit tricky, because then we have to say, well, what is the profile of that player you're looking for? Are you looking for someone to break lines with speed? Are you looking for a hold-up play? So those ones are a little bit difficult or different. But the minute we get an inquiry, that conversation is being happened, especially specifically about a player. Then obviously someone says, hey, we want Chad, we want Brandon. Like, those conversations absolutely take place right as soon as we get them. And when that happens, usually in that conversation with the coach, I don't know what they're going to ask, but usually that conversation we talked about on Wednesday, the conversation is going to go, hey, I watched this player play, really like his qualities, right? Tell me about, we talk about glow areas, glow, meaning what does he do really, really well? These are his glow points. What are his grow points, right? What areas do you think he can still improve on, right? Those are his grow points. And then the last one will be, tell me about his character, right? And that came up over and over again on Wednesday night. You know, tell me about this person. Do they train well? Good attitude, good teammate, really respectful. Those things are so, so important when you're recruiting not just a soccer player, but you're recruiting the person, right? Really, really important. That's why every day, every time you come to training, everything you do matters, because that consistency is what it's all about. So to summarize it again, Kim, great question. As soon as we get something in, we'll let you know. If a coach is looking for, if a college coach is looking for a specific profile, we'll let them know there as well. But we'll always definitely keep the player in the know for sure. Absolutely.
Thanks, Hugo. And in addition, Kim, and the rest of you guys as well, and that's a great question. Most of the time, I'd probably say 75% of the time when college coaches call us about players, it's because the players have already inquired with the college, right? So keep in mind that it's your due diligence to make sure that you guys are reaching out, just like UB said. If they're not responding, make sure you follow up. They want to see you invested. Obviously, you want to cast your net, nice and wide to get interest as much as you can. And I'll talk a bit more about keeping us in the loop on who you're talking to. But yes, 100%. As soon as we hear from a program, we communicate with that player individually. Very often, even with the parents, hey, so and so mentioned you, and this is the conversation. Have you guys already connected? And where are we now? So, even this weekend, we have an assistant coach flying down just to watch a scrimmage, which is fantastic. And this is where we are now within the program, within our program, and speaks volumes that they're going to just watch a scrimmage to confirm some things, and then invite a player up next week. We have another player that's going to be going on an official visit next week as well. So you're not ahead, behind. This is the process. This is how it works, and just make sure that you guys do your due diligence when it comes to that process, and that you guys are prepared. And this is exactly what this is about.
Yeah, it's a brilliant point. And just to add to that is we keep on saying, especially for the seniors, everyone's journey is unique, right? Don't worry about this person, I feel far behind, or this, that. I can say last year, contrary to popular, obviously I coached the U19 girls last year, and the reality is a lot of those players, there's probably 3 players who committed earlier in the junior year. Everybody else was late, very late, up until March, right? Because obviously there was a spring season, there's things coming through. Everyone's journey is unique to themselves. So stay focused on your journey. Don't worry about, that person just got a sign, or that person's going through. Your journey is unique. And that's why we said cast a wide net, be patient, be resilient, be thorough in your process, and you'll get to where you need to be as well with our guidance. But the reality is that what you can't do is be distracted because everybody else or somebody else is going somewhere else, or this is happening, because that's not your journey. Your journey is unique to yourself. All right, it's very, very important. All right, Coach Safi, is that who's up there?
Yeah, it's me. I have a question.
Sir. Yeah.
So I had meetings with my 17s, and good 30-40% of them, shows and says that they want to go pro. And I know a lot of people talking about college, but I genuinely feel, especially parents are probably 100% wanting their kids to go to college, but a lot of kids aspire and dream to play professional.
Mm-hmm.
Any suggestion for them? Anything that we can help them with going pro? Or, especially because MLS Next had this thing saying that if they go, they can also pursue their college degree while they're playing. So I feel like some of the players might not ask these questions, but a lot of them have that in back of their mind. And any suggestion, any ideas for them?
Yeah. Look, I think it is definitely it's a unique situation. I think now, especially in this country, there's so many different level tiers of professional. But truth be told, there's really only three. So you've got, in this country anyways, I mean, if you have connections to somewhere through some parentage where you can get citizenship, where you can go to, whether it be Mexico or Europe or a lower division to go and play because you wouldn't be taking up a foreign spot. It's very, very, very complicated. But in this country, there's three levels, right? There's MLS, obviously there's USL Championship and League One. And what I say to you as a former professional player who years ago, many years ago, was offered to play in the MLS, and before going to Europe, the one thing I would say, coach, is that, the chances or being able to make a living, and a lot better now than when they were offering me those times, but to be able to make a living that is substantial is very, very small, and it's very seasonal, right? And I think it's very important. This is why a lot of times it's like, hey, well, I don't want to go to school. No problem. I want to go play League One. Then no problem. But I think it's a conversation that comes in that says, hey, financially you understand that other than the MLS, you've got 10-month contracts or you multi-year contracts that don't really pay a lot of money, right? So that means if you're going to go that way and you want to play for whatever it is, at some point in time, I would say to all the boys on this, you're going to have to get a profession. Every single player, the 1% of players retire, right? Myself included, retire from professional football. So that means, what are you doing with the rest of your life after that? What are the skill sets that you possess? What connections do you have? What do you have in terms of degree or diploma that allows for you to be successful once you stop playing? And so I'm not here to tell anybody not to pursue their dream, because I know for a fact that someone told me that wouldn't happen. For my journey, and the only one I can speak about, it was by me completing my college diploma, still being good enough, finishing my degree, call it luck, call it being prepared, God's good grace, call it what it wants, Rafi. But at the end of the day, I was then able to go overseas. But a lot of things had to happen for that to even be feasible. And now I know there are a lot more opportunities, as I alluded to, but I would say is, the reality is that I would not necessarily, if you're playing now and no one's knocked on your door to come pro, especially in the environments that we have, then chances are you're going to have to go on a trial somewhere, right? The good thing about the leagues that we play in right now, there's a lot of college scouts, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of film. People get and they're watching games. If no one's calling you to ask to sign you in a pro contract, then chances are you're not ready yet, or they don't feel you're ready to go in that environment. Sometimes that's tough to hear, but the reality, you might not be ready. And so I think it's important that people who want to pursue that really go about pursuing it. And if you want to become a pro, okay, you have to understand something. If you wanted to go become a pro and then go to play in the college route, that you cannot sign with an agent, because if you sign with an agent or an agency, that rules you ineligible, right? So that means then who's advocating for you to go to be a pro, right? Other than the coaches within this program. And more than likely, if those conversations aren't happening, or if they haven't happened already, more than likely they're not going to happen in the next little while. So I think it's very, very complicated. And again, I think if they want to, and there's somewhere that they want to pursue, then I think there is a conversation with obviously Coach Tommy, yourself, the player, their family, in terms of what that opportunity looks like, that we can best counsel you through it. I'll be happy to sit on any of those calls or conversations. But I would strongly suggest that, even if you go to, a junior college for a couple of years, see what it's like, start that education process, because I can't stress enough the importance of education when at the end of the day, we all stop playing, right? Like we all stop playing, and we need to be able to have something to fall back on. And so I really think it's something that, like I said, I would never personally try to say to anyone not to pursue it. I'd just be very wary of going down that avenue at such a young age if you haven't already been, asked to possibly pursue that route. Does that make sense, Coach?
Yes, absolutely. The reason, like I said, I asked this question was because a lot of my boys, they're U17s, and good percentage of them, they want to go pro. Like, and some of them that they don't say it, they think it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they say that. And also, like when I think about it, we give examples of Messi's and Ronaldo, and we inspire our kids with looking at professional players. We never tell them so and so at UCLA and so in Maryland. So I think they have every right to dream to play professional and go professional. So what I'm trying to say is, it would be nice for them to actually understand how difficult it is to go there, or what it takes to go there. So, I think I remember growing up, I didn't want to go to college. I went to college because I wanted to play soccer, and I ended up playing soccer and actually enjoying education and, have a degree. But what I'm trying to say is, like, no kid starts training at 7, 8 years old in Patton Park thinking about college. They're mostly thinking about, oh, I want to be the next Messi or Ronaldo. So what I'm trying to say is, like, and even at U17s, that dream hasn't died. They all want to go to college, but a lot of them want to go pro. So just a question I thought asking you, because we're talking about college and I know how important it is, and this is going to help a lot of guys to find pathways and learn how to go through college. But honestly, I was like, okay, so and so wants to go pro, but how can I help him? And that was something that I was thinking. I know you played high level, you coached high level, and I thought maybe you can have, which you did. You gave me some great answers, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, I'm not here to, and we are not here as a club, as coaching staff, to deter anyone from following their dreams. By all means, that's what this is all about. Dream big. I just think the reality is you also have to have a reality and a fallback plan when those things don't go, because also you can spend 3 years, chasing something that doesn't materialize, and those are the 3 valuable years possibly missed. And it's right. Like, we have to acknowledge that not everybody is also built and set out for college, right? But I think it's important that, the conversation that has happened with you, the player, the parent, and obviously, possibly one of the directors as well, in terms of how that maps out, is something we should probably look to do offline. And I would love to be able to be a part of that, if that's something that's really something that player wants to pursue. Like, how do you go about doing it? How do you go about setting out trials? But I think, in terms of this particular forum, I would strongly advocate, still trying to go to school, enroll in a school. And what you've seen a lot of times is players go there for 1 or 2 years and then they leave. We have a lot of examples of that, and not to digress, but a lot of schools, if you go there for 2 years and you complete a lot of these schools now, will actually allow for you, if you're on a good scholarship and you are provided opportunities, a lot of them allow for you to finish your school and your professional degree offline. So you basically go there for 2 years, right? Obviously, Jordan Morris is at Stanford. He left after 2 years, signed pro, and Stanford still honored the scholarship as part of that deal. And a lot of those schools do that for you. So those are some of the things that you can do. But I would strongly suggest that that players strongly pursue the academic side first, and then if you're good enough, you're going to be found, and you're in the right environments. That if you're good enough, including our environments as a club, you're going to be found. And if no one's knocking on your door right now to come and say pro, chances are you're not ready. And that's just the harsh reality of it. Because pro is not for everybody, right? Especially when you're talking about pro at that level where you're making a substantial wage and not living at the minimum wage, right? So just some things to keep in mind. All right. So, but again, hey, great question. Yeah, great questions about open the debate. And as a club, that's what we're here for, right? Is to help and guide people through different avenues that we want to support you through. So I think that's a great point to bring up, especially knowing in the back end, coach, that people are having these conversations or want to have these conversations. So yeah, no, that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, I think that's it, Coach Tommy. I think is there anything else? I think we're good. Coach Danny, Coach Joey, anything else to add from your perspective? See Coach Burns on there, looking very astute, very professional in this picture. He's pensive.
I just want to add on, Hubie, thanks, and that was super elaborate, and I think that's great. And Remy, to your point as well, is, you know, it's not like you're making a decision between going college or going pro, and then one of the other dies out. If you make a decision to go to college, just like Hubie said, sometimes you're not ready yet, and you will have more chances also to go pro. So it's not that your chances will go away because you chose college. Certainly not. And I can tell you that 2 or 3 of the guys here that chose to go to college first still went to go pro. And we're not living off of the pro salaries that we had. We're living off of our education, because education is for life. And so just want to make sure that, you know, if obviously someone does want to go pro, there are avenues, but I would 100% make sure that our attention is shifted towards college, making sure you get into the school. And if something comes about on the pro side, we will certainly help you guys try and achieve that goal as well.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Anything else from the staff to add? Any other questions? If not, I think we'll wrap up here on a Friday night. People can get back, still watch their football or high school football games. The pigskin game, is that still a thing?
Hey, Hubie, can I say something right quick?
Yeah.
Hey,
absolutely.
I know you, for the guys that are still on there, just a couple of things. Just because you don't play Division I soccer doesn't mean it's not a high level. I know I just got in on the meeting late, but a great story I heard, and it's from Coach Noonan, the Clemson coach, and also a great story you can also hear from Scott Calabrese, the UCF coach. Scott Calabrese played at Bryant College up in Rhode Island, and Coach Noonan, he played at Middlebury College. So those are Division III schools, and they always, you know, and both of them actually played pro. Again, it doesn't matter what school you're at college-wise. If you're good, you'll be able to go pro and take advantage of, you know, being able, if you're at Bryant or Middlebury, and look those schools up. Very high academic schools, but look at them. One's coaching in the ACC, and the other one's coaching one of the top schools in UCF or in Florida. So again, don't be discouraged if you're not playing at the UNF-JU. There's a lot of small schools, Division II and III, that you can still be successful at. And that's all I wanted to say. And
yeah.
And
that's a brilliant point. And just to add to that, Joey, and the reason why, you know, at the end of the day, do you go to Division I school, you want to go pro, sit on the end of the bench, maybe you don't play, or maybe the idea that they could have gone to a Division I school, took the academics we talked about was the first thing, right? Like that's the most important thing, is to make sure you got a good academic school that fits your profile, and then you want to play. You know, you want to be able to play as well. So that's a brilliant point as well, Coach. You know, finding the right fit, finding the right school, and again, as we kind of alluded to before, is everyone's journey is unique to themselves. You know, don't worry about anybody else. If that's a good fit for you, then, you know, cast that wide net, Division I, Division II, Division III, and AIA. So that's a great point for sure. So thanks for sharing that point, Coach. All right, good stuff. You guys are in Miami. Some groups are in down south this weekend, yes?
Yeah, we literally drove in and checked in right at 7 o'clock. So
all right, good stuff. Well,
long drive.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, I'll look to wrap this up from my end, but good luck for those who are obviously play this weekend. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know. But we're here to support you guys through this process. So thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. I'll turn the last one to Tommy just to wrap up, and I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Hubie. Thank you so much for getting in front of the group and obviously super valuable information that they again have to hear. Just to conclude, we are going. The next webinar is October 22nd, I believe, 6 or 7 p.m. Don't hold me to it right now, but it's about a month away, and it's on counseling, right? And there's some really good, valuable information there on how to prepare for those classes, what to expect when you get there, and so on and so forth. And then the college ID camp to conclude the college series for the boys, which will be January 8th and 9th. That information will be sent out next week, along with the information on how the college ID camp will work. This college ID camp is in-house. Right now we have about 19 or 20 confirmed colleges already. 17 are Division I. There's a JUCO college and Division 2 and 3. And then, of course, we had a list of probably about 60 that are on a 50-50. And we can't bring in 90 colleges. That doesn't make sense financially for us, but we are going to look to bring in as many as possible. And we'll have that information for you guys on a separate page under the college recruitment page online on the JFC soccer webpage. That is all I have.
Good.
Thank you guys for jumping on. Thanks, Hubie. Good luck to everyone this weekend if you're playing. And I look forward to seeing you all again this weekend or next.
Good stuff. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys. Thank you,
all right,
Tommy,
take
Joe.
care. Take care.
Thank you.
Tommy, sorry that we were late.
No worries. No worries. I'm going to hang on with just Brandon. Brandon has one more question as well. Brandon, you want to ask in front of the group, or you want to just
it was about the upcoming games.
Oh, you don't
Okay.
need it. I'll see you. Good luck, Brandon.
Here, hang tight.